My daughter-in-law smiled sweetly before saying, "You don't deserve a gift." The room laughed, but I just opened my briefcase, and the sound of paper silenced them all. That moment, I realized respect wasn't lost. It was taken back. And that was only the beginning. The envelope waited for me like it had been planning something. Cream paper, gold initials, ICG, sold to Crane Gaines. My daughter-in-law's handwriting looked expensive, like the kind of script that's practiced in mirrors inside. The invitation talked about celebrating success and honoring family. I smiled at the phrasing. Folks in Savannah love a good performance, and my daughter-in-law never missed a spotlight. I almost threw it out. But then I thought about Zeke, my late husband, and what he'd say. "Don't let fools think they run your porch. Des." So I ironed my best linen dress and slid the invitation into my briefcase. By the time I reached their driveway, the rain had turned the air thick with magnolia and money. A young valet avoided my eyes while taking keys from guests who smelled like champagne and insecurity. Inside, a guitarist strummed something slow, and a ring light near the foyer glowed like judgment. Isolde met me halfway, her perfume a little too ambitious. "So glad you could make it, Odessa." She hugged me just enough to keep her dress unwrinkled. Clayton arrived late, adjusting his blazer. "Mom, you made it," he said, like I'd risen from the dead instead of just crossing town. I smiled. "Baby, I made everything you're standing on." The foyer had changed, but not enough. The staircase Zeke built still held its breath under new paint. The photo wall was missing me. Every picture told a story where I'd been edited out. Maya Lou, my granddaughter, ran over, all curls and giggles. "Grandma," she whispered, before Isolde redirected her like a stagehand. "Go greet the guests." "Honey." I wanted to laugh. Respect has a funny way of shrinking when people start counting followers. A young waiter pointed me toward a chair by the restroom hallway. "Ma'am, this way." I looked at the table, Isolde in the center. Donors lined like ornaments. My son seated between ambition and apology. "She's fine there," Isolde said sweetly. I nodded, sliding my briefcase under the table leg. "Comfortable anywhere, darling." I learned long ago that where folks seat you says more than their words ever could. Dinner began with clinking glasses and filtered laughter. Isolde introduced me as Clayton's mom, recently retired. Not a mention of the years I managed the family's accounts or the loan that funded their boutique. Clayton thanked his wife for believing in him. My throat tightened. Not from pain, but from recognition. Belief, I thought, is measured best when the bills come due. I drank my water and smiled. Some lessons don't need microphones. Halfway through dessert, a guest leaned in. "Wasn't this your house once?" Before I could answer, Isolde appeared, all teeth and timing. "Let's open gifts later," she chirped, plucking the question from the air. Maya Lou tried to hand me her homemade card, a little crooked heart drawn in crayon. Isolde redirected it to the gift table. I sat quietly, feeling the draft from the restroom door. Citrus cleaner and perfume don't mix well, but dignity's a better scent. I crossed my legs, counted to 5, and touched my briefcase with the toe of my shoe, steady, waiting. I hadn't opened it yet. There was no need to rush a lesson folks were already writing for themselves. They raised their glasses, forgetting the hands that steadied them, and I kept still, counting. 1, 2, 3. By the time I reached 5, Isolde's laughter filled the air like a rehearsed line. The long farmhouse table glowed under chandeliers that once hung in my old dining room. Hydrangeas, the color of dollar bills, filled crystal vases. My name card sat far down the table near the restroom hall, where the light dimmed and the air smelled faintly of lemon cleaner. I knew that placement wasn't random. It was intention disguised as oversight. A polite way to say, "You belong in the shadows." Guests drifted in with smiles too wide for sincerity. "Lovely to see you, ma'am," one said. Another, older gentleman, joked about property taxes. "You can file for homestead exemption," I answered with a banker's precision. Isolde floated over, glossy as a magazine spread. "Oh, Odessa, we've got it covered," she said lightly, a smile like sugar on glass. Clayton laughed at something a contractor said about market growth, never mentioning whose savings funded his first down payment. I let the words float away. There's wisdom in knowing when your silence teaches more than your correction. The chair by the restroom caught another gust as the door swung open. Citrus, bleach, then laughter. A young man across the table offered, "Ma'am, would you like to switch seats?" Before I could answer, Isolde's voice sliced through. "She's fine there, closer to the kitchen." The words hung heavy. A few women at the table dropped their eyes to their napkins. I smiled at the young man. "Sweetheart, I can sit anywhere," I said calmly. "A woman learns more from the hallway than the spotlight." His cheeks flushed. I caught a soft chord from the guitarist falter like the house itself flinched at her tone. Maya Lou crept up beside me, small fingers clutching a folded card. "For Grandma." It read in glitter glue. "Thank you for stories." My heart caught. "Can I give it now?" she whispered. "Of course," I said, but before she could, Isolde swooped in again. "We'll open gifts later, baby," she said smoothly, taking the card and tucking it behind a vase. Maya's shoulders dropped. "You go on. Sugar," I told her, stroking her curls. "Grandma's right here. Hope doesn't die when you ignore it. It just waits for better company." Then came the clinking of crystal. "Family and friends," Isolde began, tapping her glass. "We're here to celebrate growth, partnership, and belief." Cameras clicked, ring light glowing. "Clayton has worked so hard," she said, "and our partners have made dreams real." Trevor Holt adjusted the lighting. A videographer mouthed, "Audio good." I watched Isolde gesture toward the donors and sponsors. "This home we built together," she said, skipping right over the woman who once held the deed. People clapped. Polite, shallow applause for a rewritten history. Servers glided around with salads, their trays moving in rhythm. I noticed the seating chart now. Power arranged like jewelry. Donors to the left, influencers to the right, family somewhere beneath the lens. My chair wobbled slightly, a metaphor so on the nose it almost made me laugh. "Ma'am, really, please take my seat," the young guest offered again. I patted his arm. "Darlin', don't trouble yourself. Every seat tells a story, and I'm here to read mine." The gift table rolled out. "A performance in ribbon and tag," Isolde announced. "Just a few highlights tonight, choosing which boxes deserved camera time." Maya Lou's card stayed hidden, half under a flower vase. People laughed at gag gifts, hashtags forming in real time. My hand brushed the small watch in my purse. Zeke's watch, gold band worn soft with age. I rose, box in hand. "A keepsake from your father's hands," I said, voice even. Clayton looked startled. Isolde intercepted. "Oh, let's save the sentimental things for later. Odessa, we don't want to cry off our makeup." Polite laughter rolled through the table. I smiled, letting the moment stretch. "You're right," I said. "Some things are best kept in family." She didn't realize I was drawing a line. Clayton avoided my eyes, chuckling weakly. "Well, ain't that something?" I murmured, folding my napkin with care. It landed quiet as a gavel. The restroom door swung again. Citrus. Laughter. Isolde lifted her glass for a gratitude toast. I didn't move. The music dimmed as I counted again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, when they raised their glasses and toasted independence. I smiled to myself. Let them drink to freedom built from borrowed funds. The guitarist switched to a brighter tune as the servers glided in with salmon and field peas. The candles flickered, catching the crystal like tiny spotlights. Isolde tapped her glass. "To independence, hard work and vision," she declared, voice polished as a campaign speech. Phones rose like an audience cue. Flashes followed. Donors were thanked. A city aide, a mentor couple from church. Not a syllable about Ezekiel Gaines Sr., the man who built this foundation. My son, Clayton, smiled like a magazine cover, his eyes sliding over me as if memory were contagious. "You can't edit a foundation and expect the roof to stay," I thought, holding my glass steady. I didn't toast. Respect should not be raised where it's been removed. Then came his voice. too practiced, too proud. "We started from scratch," Clayton said, chin lifted. "No safety nets, just grit." The contractors nodded on cue. The council aide said, "Love that story, man." I caught the numbers hidden in his rhythm. Percentages, margins, the growth I once secured with my own collateral. "Isolde taught me money discipline," he added. And that line split the air. I placed my glass down, measured my tone. "Remember who signed your first loan? Son?" I didn't shout. I didn't need to. The guitarist's fingers faltered mid-note. Isolde's smile froze, glossy and tight. The boast had color, but now it bled. I leaned slightly forward, voice calm as church air. "You were 24. Your daddy had just passed. Someone put her house on the line." Silence moved through the table like a tide. The contractor blinked. The aide pocketed his phone. Isolde tried to gather the moment. "We appreciate everyone's support." I kept my eyes on Clayton. "Support," I said, "comes with dates, amounts, and signatures. Gratitude prefers details." His laugh cracked halfway out. "No shame in help," I continued softly. "The shame's in pretending the latter was air." The guitarist didn't play again. Even the air conditioner took a pause. Isolde reclaimed the floor. "To the couple who built this from nothing," she said brightly, scanning the room, skipping my face. Glasses lifted. "Obedient," Trevor Holt whispered. Perfect pull quote. Adjusting his lens. An older woman across from me stared at her untouched wine, studying the table layout like it was scripture. I didn't interrupt. I logged every word. A mother doesn't always raise her voice. Sometimes she just keeps receipts. The restroom door sighed open again. The citrus draft brushed my shoulder. The room smelled of perfume and selective memory. People tell on themselves by who they thank and who they don't. I turned to Clayton, my tone even. "Son, I don't chase credit, but I do require truth." His smile wavered. "Mom, can we not do this here?" he whispered. Small again inside that suit. "Then fix the wording," I said. "Make it right, tonight, in front of the folks you taught wrong." Isolde's earrings swayed as she leaned in. "Odessa, tonight is about celebration." "Celebrations hold or they don't," I said. "Depends on the nails used." A cousin nodded faintly. The aide set down his phone. The air grew still, as if manners themselves had stopped to listen. I lifted my glass, not wine, but water, and let it catch the light. "To truth," I said clearly, "because bills remember what people forget." I drank. No one followed. Isolde's smile quivered, losing its grip. Clayton tapped his ring to his glass, but found no words to match. My heel brushed the briefcase under my chair. Solid and sure. Grace always comes before judgment. Across the hallway, Maya Lou peeked out, holding the hidden card, hope. Small and unfiltered, watching adults trade decency for decor. No one moved to fix the story. That's when I knew. The next thing they'd hear from me wouldn't be a toast. It would be numbers. Dessert came with ceremony. Servers glided by carrying pecan pie in narrow slices, dusted with powdered sugar that hung in the air like show smoke. Isolde posed the table again. "Let's capture a few sweet bites." Trevor circled with his camera, tilting his lens toward the laughter. Clayton thanked our village in a voice he'd borrowed from a podcast, eyes slipping past me as if trained not to land. Grace, I thought, had been extended. Now it was time for clarity. The ledger I'd carried too long wanted to breathe. I pulled my briefcase a few inches forward, the leather catching candlelight. If folks won't correct words, I told myself, numbers will... I stood slowly. Not dramatic, just deliberate. The butler's pantry framed me like a witness stand. I dialed First Georgia Coastal, the private banking line still saved in my phone after 2 decades of Sunday deposits. "This is Odessa Gaines," I said. "I need a quick verification." I pressed speaker. Just loud enough for polite company to overhear. The banker recognized my name instantly. "Yes, Mrs. Gaines. I see the record. Line of credit initiated April 2018. Collateral. Your property at 417 East Wilton." The room's clinking quieted. He continued. "Renewals confirmed 2019, 2021, 2023. Guarantor Odessa Marvell Gaines. The guitarist's hand froze mid-chord. Nobody breathed. Please confirm the wire transfers, I said evenly. Labeled equipment and payroll float. My voice carried calm, not anger. The banker read each out, dates, amounts, reference memos to stabilize launch, SHE-1, to cover payroll shortfall, to purchase inventory during the hurricane closure. PDF sent to your email. Mrs. Gaines and CC'd to Miss Gloria Beth Carrington. Thank you kindly, I said, ending the call. The quiet that followed felt heavier than any accusation. I returned to my seat without apology or pride. I'd simply corrected a record. Truth doesn't require tone. It just needs air. I reached into my purse, unwrapping the small box wrapped in home paper. Clayton, I said, this is your father's watch. The older women at the table straightened. I opened the box myself, revealing the gold face, faint scuff on the bezel. He wore this when we hauled that first batch of goods to the riverfront stalls, I said softly. The chandelier light caught the engraving, ZG, etched deep beneath the strap. Trevor's camera zoomed by instinct. Provenance doesn't blink under light. I turned the watch slightly, letting the lens find the truth. Zeke kept time, I added, and we built from that rhythm. I set the box near Clayton's dessert plate. Say his name, I told him, low but clear, and say who kept the lights on while you learned. Isolde's smile stiffened. Odessa, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time, I replied. You use this table to rewrite an origin. Clayton swallowed, Adam's apple rising like a confession. A contractor studied his plate, while Gloria Beth's phone chimed. Confirmation email received. Go on, baby, I said, voice soft enough to pass for patience. Thank your daddy. Thank the collateral. Thank your mother. The air waited. Manners had nowhere to hide. A pause stretched until it snapped. Isolde laughed first, bright, brittle, rehearsed. You don't deserve a gift. Odessa, she said, loud enough for every camera. This is our night. Guests tittered, grateful for a cue to follow. Someone muttered, bless her heart. I exhaled once, twice. My heel rested against the briefcase's brass edge, a pulse steadying my breath. I didn't need the room to like me. I needed it to listen. Lesson offered. I thought, if refused, the ledger acts. I smiled, slow and deliberate, and opened my briefcase. The paper inside whispered as I laid the first document on the table. The first document lay across a dessert plate, corner brushing a streak of caramel. Forks hovered mid-air. You could feel the air tighten, thin as a stretched thread. Isolde clapped once, light, brittle. Okay, folks, back to the fun, she said, trying to swat the truth like a fly. Clayton dabbed his mouth with his napkin, eyes fixed on the watchbox. His jaw moved like he was grinding gravel instead of pecan pie. I didn't move, didn't blink. At the far end, the older women leaned in, quiet as a Sunday pew. Trevor Holt's camera light flickered uncertainly. Want me to cut that last part? He asked too brightly. You can repaint a wall. I thought, but once a beam's been exposed, it won't fit back in the dark. Isolde turned her syrupy smile toward Trevor. Let's mute Nana's moments. Sound drifted, she said, voice dipped in honey and steel. He tapped his device. The wireless mic blinked red, then silence spread through the house speakers. We're just trimming for quality control, she added, flashing a smile my way like a leash disguised as courtesy. A few guests chuckled nervously, grateful for permission to forget. I didn't flinch. Numbers carry without speakers, I said, clear enough for the table. The contractor who'd been smirking earlier nodded once. Truth. To working men. Sounds like interest rates. Solid, verifiable. Due every month. Isolde floated again, all charm and movement. Community, vision, perseverance, she cooed, her hand brushing shoulders, her perfume hanging like fog. She stopped near me. Odessa, the lighting isn't kind on paper. Maybe send those files later, her tone aimed for friendly. Missed by a mile. Already sent, I said. To Gloria Beth Carrington. Her eyes flickered, a tremor under the mascara. Clayton whispered to a contractor, Mom's confused about how financing works. but the words came out thin, the swagger gone. I rested my palm on my briefcase. The second sleeve of documents pressed back, quiet and patient. A mask slips fastest when it has to smile and smother at the same time. Then came the ripple. Carmichael Dent, Isolde's content manager, glanced at his phone. Color drained from his face. "It's already up," he mouthed to Trevor. A bridesmaid-turned-handler whispered, "Live stories mirrored your toast." Across the table, Gloria Beth scrolled through her email. The bank PDF glowed at the top. Subject line: Verification Odessa Gaines collateral record. The council aide's phone buzzed. Neighborhood groups were already buzzing. Who really funded the Gaines dream? Posts bloomed like wild wisteria across town. Isolde ducked behind a hydrangea centerpiece. Thumbs flying, influence racing against documentation. I didn't speak. Exposure isn't an argument, it's a timestamp. Someone near the end tried to recover the mood. "You don't deserve a gift," he joked, mimicking Isolde's tone. This time, no laughter followed, just the awkward scrape of silverware. The insult hung too long, turned sour in the air. I leaned toward Clayton. "You can fix this with one sentence," I said softly. "Thank you. Dad, thank you, Mom." His eyes darted to the watch, then back to me. You could see the years flicker. Loading docs, late payments, his father's calloused hands. Trevor whispered, "Do we pivot to cake?" Because content hates silence. I smiled faintly. Mercy came first, I thought. Accountability isn't cruelty, it's structure. Demetrius Randall, local radio host, texted the council aide, "On air in 20. Topic, erased elders." Carmichael's tablet pinged. The mirrored clips had spread to 2 neighborhood pages and 1 church group. Comments piled in like waves. "Say his name." Isolde inhaled to reclaim the room, but the room wasn't hers anymore. It belonged to the ledger and the lens. I slid the watchbox closer to Clayton, patient as the tide. "You choose the headline." "Sun," I said. The air conditioner hummed back to life, hydrangeas trembling from its gust. Outside, crickets roared like applause. When Carmichael whispered, "It's trending," I closed my briefcase. The next move wasn't mine to make. Coffee cups clinked like they were scared to make noise. Nobody added sugar. The servers moved slower now, sensing the shift but pretending not to see it. Notifications blinked across the table, phones lighting up under napkins like tiny spotlights. A woman near the window gasped, "It's on WCV Local now, look!" Her screen faced the room. The headline scrolled across it. "Savannah entrepreneur's success tied to mother's collateral." The sound of it filled the air heavier than thunder. I took my coffee black. Same as every night. Bitter never bothered me. What's exposed isn't scandal, I thought. It's arithmetic. Trevor Holt leaned forward, his voice trembling. It's viral. Facebook, church groups, TikTok reels. Everyone's quoting the bank rep. Isolde's smile cracked right down the middle. The hand holding her champagne flute shook like a leaf. Clayton's phone buzzed, loud enough for everyone to hear. He answered. Speaker still on. "Clayton, it's Deputy Delacroix," came the drawl. "You might want to tell your side before the news cycle does it for you." The entire room gasped like a choir missing its cue, and Savannah civility couldn't hold under that kind of heat. I sipped my coffee. Calm. "Folks don't hate truth," I said lightly. "They just hate when it's time-stamped." So, the briefcase stayed shut. Its work was done. The older contractor pushed his chair back and stood. "Mrs. Gaines, you fronted their seed money?" "Ma'am, that's integrity." Gloria Beth Carrington raised her phone, confirming. "Verification matches county filings." Around the table, people started adjusting chairs, not leaving, just aligning with new gravity. Isolde's voice cracked. "You're making a spectacle." I smiled gently. "Honey, the spectacle started when you pressed go live." Across the table, Maya Lou clung to the linen tablecloth, wide-eyed but silent. Children always feel truth before they understand it. The air around her shimmered like static before lightning. Clayton's palm slammed the table. "Enough! You wanted credit, Mama, you got it." His words hit like stones in a pond, all splash, no depth. I kept my voice even. "Wanted honesty. Son, credit was already mine. Isolde turned on him, eyes sharp. You said she wouldn't show up. The words hung like smoke. Enfin. Guests exchanged looks. The quiet now had a shape. The church women started humming under their breath, soft prayers, old hymns, half praise, half pity. Children raised on kindness, I thought. Often confuse it for weakness. Tonight, they're learning it was investment, not charity. I stood slowly, letting my chair settle without a scrape. I'm leaving the rest between you and the mirror, I said. Clayton's eyes glistened, torn between shame and pride. 2 fighters in 1 ring, Isolde hissed. You humiliated us. I met her gaze. You wrote the script, darling. I just read the footnotes. Across the table, Gloria Beth's phone buzzed again. Deputy Delacroix. Ma'am, I'll make sure your version runs first. I nodded once. There's mercy in evidence, I thought. Because it saves folks from their fiction. I gathered my things. Briefcase, purse, patience. Gloria Beth whispered. You handled that like a sermon. I smiled. No sermon, just Sunday truth on a Saturday night. Behind me, Isolde's sobs filled the silence. Clayton's apology barely reached the air. The guitarist strummed a confused chord, unsure what key this new order played in. The doors open, and Savannah's humid night wrapped around me like an old quilt. My phone buzzed. The message read, Channel 6 wants an interview. Miss Gaines, they're calling it the night of the briefcase. I looked back once through the window, Truth still sitting at that table. Then I walked out. Ledger balanced. The radio was already talking before I even opened my eyes. DJ. Randall's voice rolled through the quiet like warm smoke from the old diner downtown. Folks, if you missed it, last night was something else. Miss Odessa Gaines. Now that was a masterclass in grace. His tone carried both amusement and awe, the kind reserved for a story that made even Savannah stop to listen. I sat up slowly, feeling the ache of a night that hadn't ended so much as stretched into morning. My phone blinked with headlines, notifications buzzing like bees around honey. The briefcase mother, truth served cold. Another banner scrolled, When respect comes wearing a Sunday hat. I made my coffee, same 2 scoops. No sugar, no rush. But the sound of the percolator felt louder than usual. The house seemed to hold its breath. Neighbors' texts came one after another. Proud of you, Miss Gaines. You taught that girl a lesson for all of us. Wish I had your calm, I smiled faintly. Calm is just what folks call a woman who's already survived storms in private, long before anyone started recording. By mid-morning, WSAV had turned my dinner table into a national conversation. They looped the video between weather reports and a segment about summer peaches. Grace in the face of disrespect, the chyron read, while my face filled the screen, hands folded, eyes steady. Commentators praised the elegance of truth without rage. They didn't see the years behind that stillness or the nights I practiced silence the way other women practice prayers. Church friends started arriving, one with lemon pie, another with a casserole. Just in case you forget to eat. They sat at my table, whispering like mourners at a wake. One held my hand and said, You carried that pain so well. I smiled. Child, I didn't carry it. I learned how to set it down. Gloria Beth called just before noon. Morning Savannah wants you live tomorrow, she said, half excited, half cautious. They're calling you the symbol of elder respect. I chuckled softly. They can call me what they like. I already said what mattered. Viral moments, I thought, are like hymns sung by strangers, loud, pretty, but they never know the meaning behind your verse. By late afternoon, Clayton's car pulled into the drive. The sound of his door closing was quieter than I'd expected, like he didn't want to wake his own conscience. He stood at the threshold, looking smaller in the daylight. Mom, he began, people think we're monsters. I poured him a cup of coffee before answering. If the shoe fits, I said, wear it till it pinches enough to teach you something. He flinched. The wall clock ticked steady, the same one Zeke wound every Sunday morning, the rhythm of our house long before ambition stole the air out of it. I didn't mean for it to get that bad, he whispered. No, I said. You meant for it to be convenient. The space between us felt like a decade. I could still see the boy he used to be, the one who fixed my porch light with tape and pride, somewhere between then and now. He'd learned to lie with a smile. When he finally spoke again, his voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Mom. I let her talk me into it. The event, the filming, all of it." He kneeled beside the kitchen table like a child confessing in church. "I thought it'd make us look successful." I studied his face. The same face I once wiped clean after scraped knees and broken promises. "You're sorry it failed," I said gently. "But you're not yet sorry for forgetting who taught you what success looks like." He reached into his jacket and placed Zeke's watch on the table between us. "It stopped ticking," he said quietly. "Then wind it." I told him. Everything worth keeping needs tending. Tears gathered in his eyes, trembling but unfallen. I didn't reach for him. Forgiveness isn't pity. It's a contract. You earn it one honest day at a time. Evening came soft, golden through the curtains. My phone kept buzzing with new updates. Izolda's account deleted, her boutique's business page locked. Carmichael Dent had released a statement. The Gaines family requests privacy during this period, but the comments below carried their own gospel. She raised that man right. Some folks forget who built their ladder. Respect to the mother who didn't flinch. A deacon from church texted, "You made Savannah remember its manners." I sat back in my chair and whispered to myself, manners. Maybe memory, too. Reputation's a fragile house. You can't build it with applause, only consistency. Truth, once lit, doesn't need protection. It burns steady all on its own. As dusk deepened, I washed the coffee cups, slow and unhurried. The watch ticked again. Faint but faithful. Gloria Beth texted, "You're trending again. Hash the ledger, lady." I smiled, typing back. "Let them trend. I'll be right here, tending what's mine." Outside, the streetlights flickered awake. I stepped onto the porch, the air heavy with magnolia and the low hum of cicadas. Across the street, a news van idled, the reporter sipping from a paper cup, camera lowered. For the first time in a long while. I didn't mind being seen. Some stories deserve daylight. Some lessons need witnesses. I leaned against the railing, breathing in the calm I'd earned. "Let them tell it how they want," I murmured. "I lived it how I had to." I woke before dawn, just as the first light turned the Spanish moss silver. Savannah was quiet. The kind of quiet that follows a storm that took everything loose with it. I laced up my walking shoes and whispered Zeke's words under my breath. "Finish it clean. Des, no mud on your shoes." At the kitchen table, I signed each paper in order. Termination of discretionary support, transfer of the guest house title to the Gaines Legacy Trust, cease and desist to that slippery content man. Carmichael Dent. My coffee had gone cold before I finished, but the taste was right for what came next. Bitter, honest, and necessary. Attorney May Whitlock called to confirm our 9:30 docket. I told her, "Let's keep it sharp, not loud," then a brief prayer, not for victory, but for steadiness. Before heading out, I fastened Zeke's watch. It ticked strong again. "You see, baby," I whispered, "time knows when it's in good hands." Judge Eloise Harland ran a tight courtroom. She didn't have patience for drama or decorative grief. May presented everything, receipts, decisiones, transfers. Carmichael's emails detailing gift theater and elder engagement optics when it was my turn. I stood straight. "Respect isn't a line item, Your Honor," I said evenly, "but it leaves receipts all the same." A few folks chuckled softly. I didn't. The judge's gavel hit once, clear and final. The rulings came like the slow beat of a hymn. Injunctions granted, restitution ordered, access revoked, protection filed. I added one request: redirect Izolda's event funds to the Senior Utility Relief Program. The judge approved without pause. Carmichael tried to posture on his way out, but Sheriff Delmont handed him his papers mid-sentence. A court clerk whispered to me, "Ma'am, that was art." I smiled. "No, sugar. That's just discipline with good posture." By afternoon, WSAV scrolled the headline, "Court sides with Gaines, funds reclaimed, Dignity upheld. I stayed off camera. The story didn't need another speech. Isolde posted her first apology, vague, polished, useless. The comments dragged it into the sunlight. Truth moves faster than spin when it's finally free. Clayton waited outside the courthouse steps. No cameras, just Savannah air and the sound of his regret. "Mom," he said, voice low, "I made us small." I handed him a folded plan. 1 page, then make us tall again, brick by brick. It listed restitution terms, charity work, church accountability, 12 weeks of service with Pastor Micah. "You want back in? Start here." He signed. "Look up," I told him. "Men look people in the eye when they rebuild." He did. That was enough for now. Midweek. The paperwork cleared. The guest house officially became part of the Gaines Legacy Trust, dedicated to elder respite stays. Zora Bell called, volunteering to coordinate meals. I left a sealed envelope at Clayton's door. 3 grocery gift cards for struggling families in his neighborhood. He'd deliver them himself. Service before comfort. Through my attorney, I sent Isolde a single note. "When you can apologize without a camera, ring my porch bell. If you can't, keep walking." The radio caught wind of it. D. J. Randall turned it into a Savannah, saying, "Porch law. Do right, we tut. Sit down, pass the sweet tea, and admit your part." By evening, church folks were quoting it under magnolia trees. I donated my old briefcase to the auction that Sunday. I kept the ledger, not out of spite, but remembrance. People think forgiveness erases history. It doesn't, it organizes it. Friday came dressed in pink light and cicada songs. I called the utility office and confirmed. 27 seniors kept their lights on this week. "Bless you." "Miss Gaines," the clerk said. "You lit up more than houses," Gloria Beth texted. "They're naming the pilot after you." "I won't take no," I answered. "Name it for the ones who paid on time even when no one saw." That night, I poured 2 cups of tea, one for me, one for Zeke's chair. We finished it clean, I told him. The house creaked softly, like it agreed. Then came a knock, one firm tap, not frantic. I straightened my cardigan and walked to the door. Outside stood Isolde, bare face, trembling hands, no phone in sight. Beside her, Clayton held a toolbox, waiting for instruction. I exhaled. "Well," I said gently, "y'all finally found the right door." As Isolde stepped forward, her voice barely a whisper. Thunder rolled somewhere over the river. Clayton lifted the toolbox like a peace offering. I opened my mouth to speak, then the porch light flickered twice and died. For a heartbeat, none of us moved. What else had just woken up in Savannah?